Of course, getting into the organization and stabilizing it, it was something very new to me. And I was 30 years old at that time. A few months into my job, there was an anti-dumping suit on us. I thought Dr. Reddy will help me and guide me and tell me what to do. And I went and met him.
Yeah.
But he just said, it's your problem, go and deal with it. We had safety incidents in the plants. The final big one was the warning letter. Biggest thing that affected me at that time was that how did I allow this to happen? I think we could have done more in terms of innovation, and we never did any game-changing acquisition as such. Many big things are happening actually, and I think we in the industry should be both concerned and also interested and excited. Are they? And I don't see a lot of that in India happening. We can learn a lot from how the Chinese companies emerged on the global arena for innovation. AI is helping us design the molecules, help us design the biologic as well as small molecules more precisely. Knowing the structures of all proteins is accelerating. But the bottleneck is not in drug discovery. The bottleneck is in drug development. I want to connect the dots between discovery to market through a strong development framework or probably a partnership or in-house capability. And in 10 years' time, I want us to get at least 30 to 50% of our revenue from innovative products.
In Corner Office Conversation today, we are speaking to Mr. G.V. Prasad, co-chairperson and managing director at Dr. Reddy's Labs. Mr. Prasad has actually taken a long time in this organization, driving it from the front, navigating a lot of challenges, seeing the opportunities before others, and now we will be actually speaking to him on a vast range of subjects, where it is going, how he is going to see the future of the pharmaceutical industry, and also what is there for him as the next plan of action. So thank you, Prasad, for joining us for our Corner Office conversation. What I will start with is what I had read in the unfinished agenda of Dr. Anji Reddy. When you actually came in, there was a crisis to be handled, and you were in the US. Can you recall some of those old days? And
I joined the company in 1990. Before that, I was on the board of the company, but not in an active role. At that time, one of the co-founders of the company had moved on. He was a very strong leader and he had a lot of followership in the company. So when he left, a lot of the company left with him. So it was a kind of a upheaval in the organization. And Dr. Reddy asked me to come in and help him with the company. And I was not in this business at that time. I was in my father's business, which was construction. But I had some experience of building a pharmaceutical company earlier on, but I had moved away from that. So I came back and worked to stabilize the organization initially with the help of the team. The team was a big help. They were all veterans already in the company. 3-4 of them were the anchors around which we built the organization back. And in fact, we didn't miss anything. And that was a big lesson for me in understanding how organizations can overcome, be resilient with the commitment of people, having the right people on the team.
Would you like to kind of remember some of your most defining moments, some of the most toughest challenges that you have faced?
Some of the toughest ones were, of course, getting into the organization and stabilizing it. It was something very new to me. And I was 30 years old at that time. And the organization was fairly successful. So I was very concerned about letting Dr. Reddy down and letting the people down. And hence, that was one defining moment. And after that, there have been several crises. A few months into my job, there was an anti-dumping suit on us. And most of our business was in the US, especially for our product at that time, ibuprofen. Because the US was a market which was giving good pricing, good premium, and most of our production was going to the US. And an anti-dumping suit was for me the first time handling US lawyers at the age of 30. So I thought Dr. Reddy will help me and guide me and tell me what to do. And I went and met him.
Yeah.
But he just said, it's your problem, go and deal with it. So I went to, caught the flight to the US, met lawyers, selected a good law firm, and tried to fight that. But it wasn't going very well. But suddenly the company which filed the anti-dumping suit withdrew it
Right.
when it came to the point of which the government was considering their claim seriously and looking at the supporting data.
Right.
I guess the data wasn't adding up to them, so they just withdrew the case, and then life was back to normal. That was the second crisis. After that, at some point, we had safety incidents in the plants, and some lives were lost, and that was very tragic for me. And it took a lot from me to overcome that point at which we had fire accidents and we lost some people, young people especially. So that brought in a big focus into safety, environmental protection, and making the operations really robust. So that was also a phase of difficulty for me emotionally.
Right.
The final big one was the warning letter.
Yeah.
In the 2014-15 period,
Dubai.
we had kind of not paid attention to what was happening in the plants. And as a result, I think there was laxity, and we ended up getting warning letter for 3 sites.
Yeah.
Our Paidibimbaram site, our Mirialgoda site, and the Duvada site. Of course, Duvada site was a main
Big one.
target for us because it was sterile operations. The biggest thing that affected me at that time was that how did I allow this to happen? And how could I, on my watch, something like this happen? I was very proud as a person that I was committed to doing the right thing, ethically, from a quality perspective, from a patient perspective.
Yes.
This happened on my watch. So it really was a difficult time for me. And after that, I think we really put in a lot of effort to remediate the various lapses that had happened, as well as elevating quality to a higher standard. And today I'm convinced that we have among the best in terms of compliance, quality, and robustness of the operations.
Right.
So these were some incidents. On the business side, there were also highs and lows. When we lost the case on amlodipine maleate, it was a big blow for us because we had high hopes that we could build a branded business in the US, which would be more sustainable for us. And of course, we continue to face drug discovery. As you mentioned, the unfinished agenda is still there.
Right.
We've been working on it for a very long time. We went close. We had some successes. We had some phase 3 failures. So each of that also, I think, was some challenges, which built the organizational muscle for resilience, I would say.
Right. So recently you said we should have become more bolder.
Yeah.
And that has been one of your regrets.
Yeah.
At the same time, in the Indian pharmaceutical industry, I think the company which probably experimented the most on discovery research was Dr. Reddy's.
Yeah.
97, 98, the 2 big licensing deals that happened, and then the build-up of the entire industry because they saw Dr. Reddy's can do it.
Mm-hmm.
What more could have been done?
I think early on, we were not very aggressive in investing in some of our businesses. I think we could have done more in terms of innovation. In 2009, we kind of moved back, went into formulation innovation, built the pipeline, but divested it at the wrong time because we were hit by a warning letter, and overall we couldn't fund that journey. We also were not very strong in doing inorganic things because we made one mistake and then became a little gun shy and then didn't do a lot after that.
Yeah.
So we could have been more bold is related to those decisions.
Right.
That what we didn't do, what we could have done. Right. And we never did any game-changing acquisition as such.
That is true.
Most of our acquisitions have been incremental.
Yeah.
Some of them have been big, but none of them really transformed the organization from one place to another.
Right. A word on Dr. Anji Reddy.
Yeah.
So he's been like the tremendous force that actually built this organization. you followed him also, and his passion for invention and and networking with researchers. So the ones that you actually agreed with him and the ones where you actually disagreed with him.
We did always agree with him.
Right.
And while he was very passionate, his passion was very much in the drug discovery field.
Yes.
He moved quickly from APIs and branded generics into innovation. And once he got into innovation, being a scientist, he was single-minded about that.
Right.
In fact, he never got involved in too much into the building up of the company to scale, to generics, all that. That both Satish and I did that kind of work and they delegated to us. The lesson that I learned from him was just to delegate, trust people, and find the right people, empower them, liberate them to really get the best out of them.
Right.
And you can't achieve scale if you don't have that kind of leaders.
Absolutely.
That was one big lesson. The second lesson was his love for science that, I also inherited it. Of course, I go a little broader than him. He was largely into drug discovery. I enjoy process development. I enjoy synthesis. I enjoy biologics and all of that at a broader level. I'm not as deep as he was into. He was really a chemist, and he was so fluent with his understanding of the science. My understanding is a little broader, but it is not as deep as it was. So those were two things. And the third thing I think is also about moving on.
Right.
He would always move on from a failure and look forward. Don't look back and spend too much time or
what didn't work.
What didn't work. And that is something I'm yet to learn, but I think that is something I should pick up and be more optimistic.
Right.
And I tend to see what's not going well more than what's going well.
Absolutely.
And he was always very optimistic, forward-looking, and finding ways to motivate him to do great things.
Right. In the industry also, you're actually seen as someone who sees the big picture. A couple of times we met, you also said that, there is some big storm brewing somewhere. So do you think this is the time we see the forces coming together when you actually see something really big happening?
Many big things are happening actually. And I think we in the industry should be both concerned and also interested and excited. Right. The rate at which biology is advancing has been unprecedented. The rate at which science is advancing is also unprecedented. Understanding various aspects of science, not just chemistry, biology, but also medicine, the understanding of the human body, how it functions, the basis for disease, the basis for aging, the understanding of cellular mechanisms. All this is exploding.
Right.
And
genomics.
Finally, genomics is starting to see application in improving health.
Absolutely.
So overall, this is a period of unprecedented advancement of science, and hence it's a place where companies have to invest thoughtfully, have to look at the future, have to really understand where they want to compete, where they want to make a difference, and that those are not easy choices today.
Right. So you also mentioned about the transformational side has not really happened, and companies are actually pivoting big time into innovation.
Are they? And I don't see a lot of that in India happening.
Not yet, but actually we started, the direction is very clear now. More companies like Sun Pharma's 20% revenues coming, Glenmark. You have been actually kind of bolstering your own discovery research. So maybe in 10 years, we will be there.
I think we can learn a lot from how the Chinese companies emerged on the global arena for innovation. I would love for the country to, identify, for the governments to identify 5 or 6 areas. I'm glad they're talking the language now. AI summit is happening now, and the Prime Minister is talking a lot about AI, about pharmaceuticals, biotech, all of this. To identify these 4 or 5 areas and really put thought into how we can support innovation in these 4 or 5 areas, it would be a great thing. And certainly biotech, healthcare, medicine, AI or some of those renewable energy. All these are important
Right.
areas for the country to invest in.
Right. What I'm trying to understand is like, because all of these are coming into play now, AI is actually crunching the time taken for drug development, the costs also.
Not so much yet.
Okay.
AI is helping us design the molecules, help us design the biologic as well as small molecules more precisely. Knowing the structures of all proteins is accelerating. But the bottleneck is not in drug discovery. The bottleneck is in drug development.
Yeah.
The clinical trials, the cost of them, the time it takes.
Isn't AI helping there? Because
It helps, but
in terms of identifying trial sites, in terms of understanding whether there will be a patient dropout.
yeah, so that's a 10%, 5% efficiency
Not a
gain,
very,
not massively transforming that. But I think there is also a period of hype. I think we are on the hype cycle.
Okay.
I think we have to be adopting these tools, certainly.
Right.
They are very powerful.
Right.
But the regulatory system has to change. A lot has to change to enable that.
Right. Talking about transformation, talking about the next big leap, since you mentioned that you've not done something that could actually be transformational, it's been mostly incremental, and then the setbacks that you saw with the German buyout and the entire picture changed and actually gave you the breaks, probably you didn't move ahead. Do you think that can happen now? Do you think, the big challenging bets can be taken?
Yes, of course. I think today, the company is much stronger in technology.
Right.
So we were in small molecules, we are now in MABs, we are in peptides, we are in the newer modalities like oligonucleotides. We have a fairly large portfolio of technologies that we have in-house capability in. My job today is to improve those capabilities to really cutting edge.
Right.
We are capable, but we are not experts. We are experts in chemistry, we are experts in formulation, small molecules, all of those.
Right.
I want the company to, in the next 2 to 3 years, become exceedingly good at biologics, peptides, oligos, and fermentation, and all these set of technologies. Right. Also, the point you made about drug discovery, I think we've been discovery rich, but development poor. I want to connect the dots between discovery to market through a strong development framework or probably a partnership or in-house capability.
Right.
And these are things which will, take the company forward in the next 10 years.
Difficult to predict the area, how you want to see discovery research, whether there will be a commercial success. But any internal things that you have probably drawn?
One is to do it self-organically or do it licensing through partnerships, through co-development or through acquisition.
Right.
Earlier, our approach has been largely organic. Now, I think, we will go across all these avenues.
Right. So the generic side, you've treaded it. You've actually seen, and we all know that you spend $2-3 billion, you get a little. You spend more on the innovator side, you actually get more. So is that pivot expected?
They are two very different businesses. Right. The risk profiles are very different. Absolutely. I think generics is a great business still. There is value in many parts of the world. We are underpenetrated in many markets.
Right.
So we are putting a significant amount of capital in the branded generics business in India as well as emerging markets. We are also trying to see how we can improve our portfolios in US and Europe and see if we can differentiate ourselves there through some value-added medicines, as well as we made the move to get into consumer health.
Yes.
And these are areas, I think, which will still be very important growth drivers for the company over the next 5 years. Yeah. I think innovation, whatever we do, will start creating impact 5 to 10 years, in the 5 to 10 year horizon from now.
So you spoke about consumer health, and that's again something that many companies are getting into. And how do we actually see the men getting separated from the boys? Because that's probably seen as a low bar. You actually get products. Of course, there will be massive quality products also. But do you think that's the way to go forward?
See, it is one of the engines of growth.
Right.
The consumer health I like because of its stability, margin profile being better than the commodity generics. Right. Also opportunities to innovate
Right.
and build, franchises and brands
Right.
in all markets, not just emerging markets, but even the first world markets.
Right.
So while it takes a long time to build the brand, the revenues and the profits are much more sustainable than the commodity generics that forms a large part of our revenue today. So as a counter to this volatility, we got into consumer health. Our principle is that we will focus only on products which are medically proven
Right.
to benefit
Exactly.
benefit people.
Right.
And that has been a principle that we've been following in all our consumer health initiatives.
Right.
And having the ability to assess what makes a difference to disease, what makes a disease preventive value to people, understanding that from a medical perspective helps us be better in our choices.
Right. Who are your role models? Who you follow in terms of your own philosophy? You have very strong liking for the industry, from within the industry and from outside.
So there are many role models around us. I've always looked up to people who done well for themselves as well as for the world and for the industry. In the IT industry, there are examples of people who governed well, who built institutions, and who have driven societal change.
Right.
An example would be Nandan. He's done amazing work outside business also.
Yes.
The impact UPI and the Aadhaar has had on the country is just unbelievable. No politician has had that kind of impact, whatever they say.
Absolutely.
That is one of the role models I have.
Right.
Within our industry, I think the ability of an entrepreneur to bring energy through think laterally and to drive the organization forward, I think Dilip is a good example of that. You talked about the big picture. Here's a person who has a big picture as well as the tiniest amount of detail in his head. And that, I think, is remarkable for an entrepreneur. And of course, there are people who think at a global scale. Steve Jobs has ability to innovate, ability to bring products which people love.
Yeah.
These are all examples of inspiration for me. I have a good set of board members who guide me, who inspire me, who encourage me, push me to do better.
Right.
And I've always benefited from that mentorship.
Right. Right. So one of the things that came up in one of our discussions last week, Mr. Shangvi actually spoke when I asked why didn't we really pick up on innovation research, and Glenn was also there, and the kind of badgering, the kind of hammering his stock got because some of the molecules failed. He mentioned about the value of innovation, the value of pipeline is not being ascribed in Indian investors. Any thoughts on that?
We are companies which are valued as multiples of our earnings.
Yes.
So, and how steadily we grow that,
Right.
and how we deliver on both bottom line and the growth in the bottom line.
Right.
And when you take up innovation, you need to take risky bets.
Right.
90% of the molecules fail if you start from phase 1 onwards. So with that kind of risk, our ability to value the pipeline is quite low. And in general, companies in India are not pure play innovation or pure play generics. There's hybrid. There's branded generics, API, biologics, and then innovation.
Right.
So both of them are very different animals.
Right.
The game is different. In one you have a large number of small bets. In the other one you have a small number of very large bets. And how do you understand and value these is baffling. I don't think the investors, either they're buying a generic company or they're buying an innovative company. So it's very difficult for a company which is in one area to cross over to the other side.
Right.
And that is our challenge in India.
Right. Do you see that changing?
I think if we have a few successes and we have a few success stories, and then analysts will start looking at what lies below the financials, below the earnings, what is the pipeline, what is the difference the assets can make.
Right.
But I think we are a few years away from that.
Now, we've spoken so much about the Indian companies, in the generics field. Again, you mentioned about pharmacy. of the world, the generic pharmacy of the world. At the same time,
I don't know if people are happy with that definition.
No, but
we all take pride in saying we are the pharmacy of the world, but in reality, we are the generic pharmacy of the world.
And actually, that's true, and we should know that.
Yeah.
With all the impact that we have made, the fact remains that the Chinese are ahead on innovation.
Yes.
So, how do you think Indian companies can change that perception?
We have a lot of things going for us. We have very strong manufacturing base. We have lot of talent, highly qualified people. If you see any multinational, you'll see a lot of Indians there in research and commercial, in brand building, all of those areas. You will also see in India a lot of global capability centers now.
Now they
keep changing the names.
Yeah.
But you can see that they're really impressed by the talent, by the number of companies coming into India.
Yeah.
So we have the talent, we have the ecosystem.
Right.
We don't have the financial wherewithal to take a product all the way. Right. But I think over the next years it'll change. So we can really leverage on the talent we have, both scientific and other areas also. Another leg of this is the CDMO industry, CRDMO industry, contract research, contract development. All those are, places where people are learning a lot and learning rapidly by serving real innovators around the world. They understand what it takes to innovate, what the process of innovation is, how do you do the design, the development, and the manufacturing of innovative products. If you can bring them together and really focus on innovation, I think within a decade, India can do a lot in innovation. And I'm really bullish about this because if I see the talent around us, the number of companies which are coming to India for sourcing services, as well as creating their GCCs here, that says that we have all the ingredients.
Right.
We have to bring it together with the right amount of capital and focus. We can get there.
A quick word on your hobby. You are very, very passionate about wildlife photography. You've published, some of your collection. What have you liked most in all the things that you've actually done? And can you tell us what will be the next big adventure?
My passion is for nature, really, not as much photography, but photography is a byproduct of that passion. I love nature, I love mountains, I love wildlife, I love forests, and enjoy going there, spending time. Every quarter, if I don't go somewhere and get refreshed by that experience, I don't feel the energy. My most recent visit was to South Africa, but before that I went to Brazil and explored the Amazon and the Pantanal wetlands. The biodiversity of that space is mind-blowing, really. And we saw big cats, we saw these caiman alligators, and bird life, amazing bird life. So that was really mind-blowing. I've seen many places and each place has its own attraction. The next one, I've done the Arctic, I've done the Antarctic, done a lot of places in Africa, South America. I still haven't done some parts of South America and parts of Africa still to explore. I'll do that, I think, in the next 2 years.
Right. Of all of the things that you've actually done, which have stood out?
Each one stands out for different things. I went to Alaska, the bald eagle there, the sea life there, the sea mammals there, the amount of fresh water there was just mind-blowing. And within one frame, you could see water, mountain, forest, snow, everything. And that visual of that is just still imprinted in my head. And then you see these soaring eagles over the mountain, and you take a picture of that. It's something special. The salmon run, the bears, all of them was something incredible. In Africa, you see a cheetah running full into your camera, chasing a deer. And
fastest animal.
Yeah, and seeing something like that is amazing. And how a cheetah mother takes care of its children and puts itself in danger in front of a lion. We witnessed that. That was also, how brave the cat is to put itself in harm's way to protect its cubs.
Right.
It's just unbelievable. So each one, this was a cheetah in Kenya.
Oh, wow.
It was having its cubs, and then a lion wandered in, and the lion could hear the cubs, I guess.
Right.
And the cheetah just made some sound, and the cubs ran away.
Right.
But it put itself right there and
Right.
before the lion,
Right.
and distracted it and took it away.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Right.
So
Lovely.
there are such
Yeah.
wonderful things in
Yeah.
nature that you see.
Yeah. You need those kind of distractions when you're actually surrounded with so much of, corporate compulsions.
I enjoy both.
Right.
It's nothing. It's not that I have to. I'm tired of work and I have to go there.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. I enjoy this
Right.
also.
Absolutely.
Enjoy coming to work.
Right.
This is also creative for me.
One thing that actually stood out was like Dr. Reddy's was one of the first companies to actually do the professionalization of the management. It was more like a long distance monitoring and seeing how things are. I think that was a very big step.
It was, but I also think involvement of a family member or a founder family is important
Right.
to bring that entrepreneurial energy,
Yes.
to bring that
Belonging.
commitment, and to bring that connection.
Yeah.
Is very important. Professionalization is inevitable when you grow beyond a certain size.
Right.
We probably did it a little earlier than many companies,
Absolutely.
but you can see that trend in most companies.
Yeah.
We are also, decided that we could even have a CEO who's a professional, empower him or her to, take the company to the next level. So there is merit in professionalization. There's also merit in founders staying involved.
Where do you want to see Dr. Reddy's 10 years later?
We're going to be a very good professionally run generics business, a leader in generics. And in 10 years' time, I want us to get at least 30 to 50% of our revenue from innovative products.
That's doable. I think that doesn't look
achievable.
like a very, okay.
It is. I mean, it is doable, but it's not business as usual. It is a leap, like you said.
Absolutely.
And we have to make that leap.
How we have been wanting to see that day, come true. So
I hope we can both have this conversation
again,
10 years later.
Absolutely.
And you
Wonderful.
can ask me that question about
Sure,
what happened to
sure,
Reddy.
sure. We've been waiting, and you also said that this is my unfinished agenda.
Yes, it is.
So on that note, thank you so much, sir. This is really a great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.